Now, when that parent is a narcissist, I personally feel that the blueprint is messed up. The blueprint is fractured,
Yeah.
from the start. Now, I would want to know, in your clinical view, what are the most defining long-term psychological imprints left on a child who are raised by narcissistic parent?
You're asking the easy questions first. It's within a narcissistic family, if you think of narcissism, it's an incredibly predictable kind of personality and how they behave and so on, and yet it can be very, very complex. It can manifest in different ways and so on. But if you think of that, you think of a family unit. So let's imagine you've got two parents, you've got a child, maybe a couple of children, maybe even three or four.
Mhm.
The dynamics that you would see in that one-to-one relationship with the partner, they're going to be playing out as well with the children. Quite often with narcissism, you have this, apart from all the entitlement and this belief that they're special and so on, they really need this constant affirmation, this constant attention, this constant love. And whenever they're in this family dynamic, if they're not getting it perhaps from the partner the way they once did, they might be rejecting the partner. The partner's never good enough. A lot of the things that people talk about in narcissistic videos, how they treat their partners and so on. With the children, what you often find is, maybe with one of the children in particular, the child becomes like a pseudo partner, if you will, a surrogate partner. So even at a young age, they might be getting told things that are very inappropriate. They might be expected to be the parents' counselor. What you often find as well is whenever a child might have a particular role, other roles might be assigned to the children as well. Other times the children are just going to take on roles because of how they're being treated. Now, depending on the role, these interactions, these behaviors, and how they learn to manage the world, how they learn to manage that interaction with their parents, with the narcissistic parent, even with each other, as I'm sure you were, a lot of these things are going to carry on into adulthood. So, for instance, you might have had the child who was commonly referred to as the golden child, the child that was separated from the others and was special. So that child might grow up believing that they are special and entitled and so on. You'll have the child who might have been blamed on all the family's misery. They were at fault for everything, commonly referred to as a scapegoat. You might find that child growing up, and that child might be, they might get into trouble, because they think it's their lot in life. Could go the other way. They could be very conflict avoidant, if you know what I mean. They really want to stay under the radar.
Mhm.
Which both leads me on to another child. You would have maybe the lost child. That's the child that wasn't really noticed at all. Maybe neglected, but maybe that child learned that it was safer to stay hidden. They didn't want to do so well that they were going to outshine the golden child, because there was going to be conflict there. There was going to be scorn, ridicule, bullying, things like that. Pardon me, I did tell you I have a cold.
Perfect.
But they don't want to do so badly either that they end up the scapegoat, responsible for all the misery. They've let the family down and so on. So the child is learning to stay hidden in plain sight. They're doing really
Mhm.
well, but not too well, not badly either. So you might say that child would be reading, doing solitary activities, playing alone, things like that, just sitting in the room, listening to music, whatever. And again, as they grow up, it's not that they don't have interactions, it's not that they don't have friends or anything, but again, they kind of stay hidden in plain sight. They don't like conflict. They don't like putting themselves out there too much. They wouldn't necessarily put themselves up for a promotion at work, that sort of thing. They don't necessarily like attention, especially negative attention. So there are so many different avenues you could go down in how narcissistic parents affect kids, but I think a lot of the time it's going to affect their adult relationships as well, because they haven't maybe had a healthy relationship modeled for them.